Thank you, and a warm welcome on this Monday, first day, Cisco Live. Thank you for being Cisco customers, Cisco partners. My name is Hendrik Blokhuis, CTO for Cisco in EMEA. In fact, it was a short ride for me this morning. This is my hometown, Amsterdam. So if there's any advice you like to have for the rest of the week, please come to me. Looking very much forward to this session. Now, the great news is that we don't have any slides. Hopefully, we do have a lively discussion about, I believe, a very hot topic of how on earth to balance security and agility in this ever-changing world. And as Cisco, we don't own wisdom nor truth, so that's why I brought an esteemed panel with me, representing IP Fabric, BlueCat, and Opengear. And we will have a good and lively discussion, and maybe some interaction. And at the end, my last question always is, what is the most important thing you want this audience to take away? So hopefully there will be some thought leadership from this. This will not be about plugging any products or solutions. This will be an open debate about, I think, a very important topic. But without further ado, Patrick, do you like to introduce yourself? Sure. And not just your boring name, title, that's all good, but what is your number one priority in the job that you now have?
All right. Well, Hendrik, thank you for having us here today.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate the opportunity. So I'm Patrick Quirk. I'm the president of Opengear. We thought, actually, one of the things we've been very intentional about this year is as we're all talking about AI. This is all about networks and how everything connects. But what we all have to remember is that at the end of the day, there's humans out there. And so one of the things that we've been very intentional about this year is going out and meeting our customers face-to-face, getting with our partners face-to-face, attending events like this, and really making sure that we're getting the personal connection between us, our partners, and customers.
Thank you. That's very much appreciated. And you're here now, so
yep.
People, and I think you have a great booth as well, Patrick. Miguel.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. So my name is Miguel Pinto. I'm the VP of Product of IP Fabric. And this year, actually, very similar to what Patrick said, my number one priority is connect with customers in this time of change where there's so much change coming from the introduction of AI, but also like the networking world is changing quite a lot, and new things are coming into the market that will basically underpinning large programs, and I want to be next to the customers, understand their challenges, and position our product also to help them through their journey.
Okay, then I think this week will be maybe the best week ever. Yeah, so many. Ronnie.
Yeah, my name is Ronnie Wolf, field CTO at BlueCat. And yeah, my goal for this year is basically I'm always at the customers, 90% my time I'm spending with customers together. Listen to understand how we get them to our intelligent NetOps platform. So not just the plumbing core, stupid core services, so really get them to the next thing with AI, with more observability capabilities, and basically together with Cisco as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you, thanks again. My first question, I like to start with you, Ronnie. And that is, it is attached to the topic, but as we are in Europe, there is one big elephant in the room, which is this whole discussion about sovereignty. Whether you like it or not, I heard somebody say sovereignty is like gravity. You might not like it, but it's there. You have to deal with it. And as we also know that many countries, the governments, they're getting their head around changing definitions of what sovereignty is. It can have many different shapes and forms. But, I mean, Ronnie, from your point of view and your day job with BlueCat, what do you hear from your customers?
Yeah, I mean, regulatory is always a hot topic, right? I mean, NIS2, Basel, whatever, it doesn't matter in which vertical you are. As soon as you're in some kind of a critical network infrastructure, or critical infrastructure, a critical vertical, we have always this discussion. However, what I see, in my opinion, or what I see from customers, that this sovereignty as well as the trust part is not just about regulatories, it's also about control. It's more or less, where are my data? how can I control them? How can I more or less recover them if something falls apart in a very quickly way? And here it's quite interesting. Yes, we have the regulatories. We have our compliance officers or whatever it is there. However, we see how diverse these environments nowadays are, how complex they are. They are in cloud environment, data centers, SaaS services, or whatever they have, right?
Yep.
And most of our customers not even know where these data are, and if this small piece of puzzle is falling apart or is not working anymore, how to get everything tied together again. And that is exactly where we are looking into how to help them with a more extensive platform, not just looking into one single angle, to broaden that up to cloud, to whatever, everything around that.
Yeah.
And then for sure the regulatories, more or less also we have this geopolitics kind of thing. I don't want to go too much into that detail. However, with China, with Russia and things like that, how we get data back, how we can make sure if whatever we need to separate certain entities to keep our data really sovereign.
Yeah, so also on that part, you need the agility, not as a nice to have, it's to survive. Sure. Miguel, any perspectives from your side?
Yeah, and I mean, just connecting to the topic at hand, where is this conflict comes up between security and agility. Of course, I mean, everybody wants to be agile. Everybody wants to basically adapt to the context and to the operational reality. But what happens is that, and mostly, for example, when you want to do a change and you want to change the routing or change a firewall segmentation, what's going to happen is that you are going to be uncertain about the impact of the change. So you want to do it fast because you're under pressure, but I mean, you don't know how much impact you're going to have, what you're going to impact. And this is where, you know, security actually comes in and say, like, you know, I need to manage risk of this change, so I'm going to slow you down. And this is when things started creating attention, and this is where conflict arises. So conflict doesn't come from intent, because basically the two teams have the right intent, but conflict comes because there's uncertainty on the things that are being done.
Yeah, Patrick, any additional perspectives?
Yeah, so both you guys hit on great, you know, really the broader topic here is how, when you look at data sovereignty and everything else, it really ultimately comes down to operational control, right? So you can have intent, you can be able to go in and make sure that you're monitoring and you've planned everything out properly, but what do you do when it goes wrong? So especially in a sovereignty case, so, you know, if you've got that overall data where you think it is, if something, the day that it goes wrong, what do you do? Right? So you've got your outline of how you do it. You've got your playbooks of how you would then go about it. But what happens when you can't access it? And that's kind of where we come into the equation from our side, in that we provide that extra plumbing to be able to make sure you've always got that control and observability when things do go wrong, so that you can maintain data sovereignty and everything from a compliance and regulatory perspective.
So there's a role and responsibility from us as technology vendors and providers of services to this audience. Miguel, if I may start with you on that topic that you already opened up, it's always great, this discussion, but why do so many security controls seem to or sort of reduce agility instead of supporting it?
Yeah, I think the main reason is the security controls basically are done once, but the network evolves. And the security controls are not continuously validated to basically reflect the operational reality. And what happens is that when there's a big gap between what the security control is supposed to do and the operational reality, people stop trusting the security controls. And this is when we actually start having a lot of manual reviews, you know, extra approvals, basically everything that is supposed to compensate for the gap between what the security controls represents and what actually the network how the network is operating.
Yeah, and Ronnie, within your customers, you said you spend 90% of your customers, which is, I mean, absolutely super. Where do you see security and agility within your customers clash?
Yeah, I mean, it always clashes, to be honest.
It's too easy of a question.
And that has not only to do, because you said before, whatever, regulatories and things like that. For sure, the security teams also have that in mind. But at the end, I mean, security wants, in our world, from a BlueCat perspective, always to have the last saying at the end. Which makes totally sense to a certain extent. We need to have standards, we need to have compliance and things like that. But if you see that NetOps team or DevOps teams or things like that want to automate more, at a certain stage, they need to stop because there's a security control in place, right? And I think that comes, and what we see then quite often if I'm in customer meetings, how often is really the security team involved? Maybe there's one person in there, right? Which maybe is listening in, but is not active participating on that. Or maybe just, hey, we need to check what kind of audit capabilities or things like that you have. But what I think is sometimes missing is, and that harms then the agility, is that the security is not really part of the whole automation process.
Right.
It's fully separate, a silo for its own kingdom. Maybe sometimes it's the purpose of the security team. They need to be sitting somewhere else because otherwise maybe it can, circumvent some kind of security guidelines. But that is really what we see at customers. They are disparate house divide to a certain extent.
Yeah, and how can we bring them together? Is it a matter of different culture, different business objectives?
I think it's both of that. So first of all, I think it's a different culture. Security teams are typically, or a security guy is a little bit more concerned about things.
Yeah, that's their job.
Instead of doing, yeah. Again,
Yeah.
it's not blaming the security team. I mean, they're just doing their job, right? However, what I think, how to bring them more together is really to include them in the whole process, and not just if we are in the POC phase. When does the security team comes in to sign off that they can deploy the solution, right? If you include them in the first stage already, that they are part of it, that they have also benefits out of that, I think then it can make it much more easy to keep the agility to a certain extent, but also have the security from start to the end.
Thank you. Yeah, Patrick, I'd like to add something for you to reply on, because what I think is mind-boggling. If we talk about security, we often say, okay, it's the workforce, human beings, but rather sooner than later, the workforce is going to be expanded by AI agents.
Sure.
AI is not going to be a tool, it's something that we work with. It's a coworker, you see that already. They get an identity, they get a profile on the network.
And how then security controls around them as well.
Yeah, so any perspectives on that? Are they just another member of the workforce? Should they also get a security profile?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're gonna have an AI agent be part of your network operations, then you need to treat them just like you would treat any other employee or entity that is coming in and doing something on your network. And I think one of the things that Rory said is interesting, because security, while they set the profile at the beginning, when something goes wrong, they're also right there at the end stopping you. And so it's this bridge where they're at the beginning and then they're at the crisis.
Correct.
And how do you bridge that gap between the two, right?
Yeah.
Because when something goes wrong, the first people that get blamed usually are security. There was a breach, or our security controls are preventing us from recovering it, or whatever it is. So that integration of security up into network operations and the design of the network right from the beginning is key. And I think one of the other things that we should keep in mind, and this is really going to be true when you start talking about agentic AI, is that you have to assume things will fail. If you don't assume that things are going to fail in the design of your network, then the minute they do, you're going to be handcuffed. And that's where the operational reality meets the plan. And so having that in place, whether that's security, the network design, everything else, those are really the key things, I think, to be able. And it's true no matter whether it's a human or an agentic AI as part of it.
Yeah, Miguel, are we then going towards an environment where an AI agent is going to check on another AI agent because they work in different departments?
Yeah, and you see that right now.
That's crazy.
But I think you already see it right now, where you can actually deploy sub-agents that are specialized for a specific task. If you pair them up with MCP servers that will make the reasoning more deterministic, that's I think it's going to be a reality that is not going to. I mean, you can see it already now, but it's going to be more systematic and more visible very, very soon.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Patrick, back to you. What do you see emerging as emerging trends in network management, especially around, again, this topic of agentic AI? And what do you think CIOs should be worried about or see as an opportunity?
Well, yeah, I mean, they should be worried about everything.
Yeah, that's what they usually do, yeah.
That's kind of their job, right? Risk management, right? So, I mean, we are, to Miguel's point, people are already deploying agentic AI in network management today. So that's not something that's coming 2 years from now. It's not something that we've got time to plan for. It's here today. Now, the good side of it is it's easy to define a set of operational controls, and in theory, an agentic AI should follow that and match it and do its intent. But the problem is that unlike a human, an agent is never going to give up. And it's going to keep collecting information.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's going to keep trying to do what it was programmed to do. And so the question then becomes, okay, how do you build some kind of a governance structure around that is just as robust as what we have with humans operating the network controls today, but can be applicable when and as more and more organizations roll out agentic AI as part of that overall network management. And then kind of going back to the point that I made before, you've got to design it assuming that things will fail, so that when it fails, you still can maintain operational control. And that, I think, is key.
Yeah, true. Now, Ronnie, maybe a challenging question for you, but if you were the CIO of BlueCat, would you allow an AI agent to autonomously run and change the network environment because it is so agile at this point in time? Or you still want to have a human in the loop?
I mean, if you take a look at our booth, you will see also some kind of buzzwords with AI, whatever, AI-driven network and stuff like that. But I'm not a CIO at BlueCat.
Just pretend.
However, we, from a product perspective right now, explicitly decide also what we deliver to our customers from an AI perspective, not to change anything. Because we also at BlueCat, even if we are doing in our research kind of thing and blah, 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 exactly what you said, Patrick. It tries keep running and tries to find ways, whatever, calls that APIs and things like that. And we identified a little bit that it's, for us right now, we have not enough experience, let's say, at BlueCat to let the AI do changes. Yeah. So for sure that will come. I mean, as soon as more prompts, as more policies basically in the MCP servers and things like that, or what we are developing, are in there, then maybe we will open that up. But right now, it's just to gather data out of it, that the AI can do something with it, but not to let them really do changes right now.
Yeah. Now, Miguel, would that change if an AI agent would stop a hacking attempt autonomously? Would you allow him to do that? So not about agility, but more around the security topic.
Oh, yeah, that's. I mean, there's a short answer and a long answer. Both of them, it depends. It's already possible. So basically, you already see agents deployed that basically can act as countermeasures to attacks. Yeah. But I think probably what you see more often is that they will actually be stopping other agents that are doing the attacks.
True.
And adapting to actually those countermeasures. And that's actually probably going to be the most interesting challenge. Yeah. Is how you see the technology in a world where the interaction is made agent to agent, not human to agent.
Patrick,
I think there's an interesting kind of corollary back to the discussion we had before around the security piece. And there has to be some level of orthogonality in your operational controls from the data path. So if you maintain that independence into the controls, then even if something goes wrong, whether it's human-induced, a cyber attack, or an agentic AI just trying to do what you told it to do, but it does it too well and actually locks you out, right? Which can happen.
Yeah,
right?
Humans do as well.
Exactly. So how do you have a control and access capability that's effectively orthogonal to your operational network so that you can maintain control? Because really, when you think about it, visibility without control is just awareness.
That's a great one-liner.
Right?
Yeah.
But you've got to have that operational control in order to be able to have resilience.
And is that the ideal business case for out-of-band management?
Yeah, and it really, I mean, out-of-band management is kind of it's been around for a long time, right?
Yeah.
We've had serial ports and the ability to get in independently and everything else for 50 years or something
there.
like that, right? But it's still going strong. And one of the key reasons for that is it's the simplicity and that orthogonality of control. So if you're doing it, if you're doing a best case network design, you can think of it as the equivalent of like the tier system for data center build-outs. Your tier 4, your management plane should be completely independent from your data plane. Yes, you can do control in band through all kinds of different manners, right? There's a billion different ways to do it. But having that independence and orthogonality maintains that control. So when you find something that's gone wrong, which their tools are both fantastic at the planning and the visibility side, what do you do from an action perspective when it does go wrong? And maybe you actually get locked out because of a security policy. So that's where, does that make sense?
Yeah,
right? You're kind of tying it all together. Yeah. And really, I mean, one of the things that we've even tried to do with some of our software is not use the exact same open source piece that everybody else is using.
Okay,
so that we do kind of get that orthogonality of risk.
Miguel, any perspectives from IP Fabric on this? Strong in autonomous networking, assurance.
Yeah, I think basically we are pretty much helping with the assurance aspect of it, which is if the agent actually is going to take decisions, it should take decisions on the best possible data, on the reality of the network, on the configurations of the devices, so that the evidence is there, the determinism is there, and this is basically why IP Fabric can really help mitigate a lot of the risks of the agents going array when executing autonomously.
Yeah, true. Ronnie, any perspectives from BlueCat point of view?
Yeah, as already mentioned, I mean, we don't let the AI, even if it's an AI from the customer itself, so whatever they connected something to our MCP servers or things like that, to do all these changes. What we introduced is more or less that we more or less have some kind of suggested things right now, so more or less in listen and giving suggestion mode or recommendations, so that at least there's a human interaction right now in there. Because if you think about then whatever an IP Fabric is talking to a BlueCat system autonomously, that some changes happen, then what you need to think in the source of truth of a BlueCat is maybe something wrong. Whether it was a human being, maybe it was an AI who has entered something wrong, and then a misconfiguration happens on IP Fabrics, right? Whatever, a router config or whatever happens at the end, or security policies or whatever will be applied. And we are talking about critical core services, right?
Yep.
I mean, that can bring down the whole network, whole applications, a whole company. So my take right now, it will take a little bit until we really let the AI do something. So right now we are in recommendation only mode.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, in closing, last question, but maybe the most important one. I'd like you to address the audience here. What one piece of advice would you give this audience to take away in their day jobs? And I know it's a very diverse audience, but if there was only one thing they would leave Amsterdam with, Patrick, what would that be? And please address the audience.
Yeah, so first of all, I would say that in a lot of ways this was a great panel because the first thing is we were looking at resilience as an outcome, not as a product. And each of our strengths together is actually something that can help provide resilience for your overall network design. And so the key takeaway that I would have is you have to design for failure from the beginning. assume that your network is going to fail. And if you start with that assumption, build your controls, build your network operation stack, build everything else up off of that, then you are building resilience into your plan from day one. And so that would be my key takeaway here.
Design for failure.
Yep.
Beautiful. Miguel.
Yeah, so just a little note, because basically you mentioned about IP Fabric changing the configurations. We are a read-only product, so we don't change any configuration.
I allow you to do it. That's great. That's
confirming good. Intent, I think, is the right view of it, right?
But based on that, you will automate based on what you uncovered, right?
Exactly.
And then you automate against that. So more or less, if there's something within the IP Fabric, what maybe was entered by something else, and then someone automate against it.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Back to the question.
Fall apart.
So I think the key takeaway, and if we think about, just going back and thinking about the conflict between security and agility, like I explained, I think uncertainty is at the origin of this tension, and the only way to reduce or eliminate this uncertainty is that whenever you're going to do change or you're never going to do something important like automation, you always need to have evidence first. So that's the most important thing in any system that needs to have a closed loop, where security needs to guarantee that the risk is appropriate. Close the loop with evidence before you
close the loop and design for failure, close the loop for evidence. Absolutely perfect. Ronnie, any takeaway?
Yeah, I think on top of that, I can summarize that more or less. Try to drive your network in a more intelligent way, right? Basically. So not just that you have an evidence on a certain change or something like that. So more or less bring more or less all your platforms to the next level of intelligence. Doesn't matter if it's from an AI perspective, if it's from a resilience perspective, from a design planning perspective in the first place. So I think one of this takeaway is take a look how you can make your platforms more intelligent. The vendors will help you, all of us, together with Cisco. We are all building these platforms. Take a look how you get the real pieces together to have really intelligent network at the end.
Okay. I think that is a very good closing statement. Ladies and gentlemen, give them a big round of applause. Ronnie, Miguel, Patrick, thank you very much for your time and attention. Have a great day.